Hi everyone. Today we're going to look at some samples of the writing that you did for the assignment of problem and solution. You were asked to write 2 paragraphs. In the first paragraph you describe the problem, in this case whether or not there's a similar kind of problem here in Israel of driving under the influence of cannabis. And in the second paragraph, you were asked to relate to a possible solution to the problem. So let's take a look at some of the examples. So I've chosen to look at a couple of them for a couple different reasons. First of all, if we look here, what do we see? Sentence, 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 sentence. Each sentence begins in a new line. Capital letter here, full stop here, capital here. But what do we know about a paragraph? In a paragraph, all of the sentences must follow one another. Do not begin each new sentence on a new line. You just continue typing, and if by mistake you forget, hit delete, and it brings everything up. So we look here, and from this we can see we've got what looks like a paragraph. And I've already done that for you. But if we look at the paragraph and we see what's the problem, basically we have one paragraph. The topic, and there is a good topic sentence here. In Israel, there is a steady increase in marijuana use rates, and I'm going to put that in yellow. Okay? And he brings up another problem. They drive on the road negligently, and they use alcohol. And basically we can see that there are some problems, a lot of the problems that the article relates to. And the final sentence, in my opinion, this is a serious problem. Okay. And then it must be immediately restricted and attacked. Okay, very good. So, what are we missing? We're missing the paragraph that offers a solution. So if we go back to this, what can we see? We had a list of sentences, but it was hard to see whether or not it was a paragraph because it was a list of sentences. And when we look at it together, here we can clearly see that we've got ideas that relate, and here we've got a topic sentence, we've got some supporting sentences, and a concluding sentence that would lead in beautifully to a paragraph that offers a solution. Let's look at another example. Here too, what do we see? We see a list of sentences. And it begins, the recommendation that is made is the public safety plan needs to target multiple dangerous behavior on the road. And relating to the idea of multiple dangerous behavior. And my experience, there's hope for the better, therefore I would recommend. So if I go down here where I've corrected the paragraphing, what do we see? Is that there are multiple dangerous behaviors, and there was a decrease in driving and drugs. Okay. But there's still hope for the better. Drugs and driving cause reckless driving. And then we have therefore. What does therefore tell us? Therefore tells us a result. And here I would recommend, what does that tell us? That tells us a solution. Expanding the reckless driving field for further research in order to find a solution. So basically what did you do? What was done here was that there was a solution was related to, but not to the problem mentioned here, but a need for further research. Okay, we're going to look at another sentence, and a lot of times I say, begin a sentence with capital letters, begin a sentence with capital letters, begin a sentence with capital letters. And what do we see here? It's very, very difficult to read because my eye can't see where a sentence begins and a sentence ends. And what do we know about a sentence? A sentence has a main idea. So if we look here, cannabis is also called marijuana. Cannabis. Oops, I missed it. That's a whole new sentence. Let's make this another color. It is defined, I think it's here, but I'm not 100% sure. The impact and reactions time, I have to look very, very carefully. There are full stops, but there are no full capital letters. And we'll choose this one. So we can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences, and that at least begins to help me look and say, okay, cannabis is called marijuana. Okay. But is that the topic sentence? Cannabis is considered the most illegal drug in the world after legal drugs. It's defined as the impact. It's only when I get here that I begin to see that this is really my topic sentence. So it really starts here. Do we need this? Well, maybe it would be better to move it to the beginning. The impact of cannabis in driving is significantly impairs The impact in driving is significantly impairs judgment. Okay. We need to educate the public. Oops, sorry. Here there was a sentence. Let's make this color. We need to educate the public about the potential risks. Well, where is this? This is more part of the solution. So that basically, what have we got here? So if we look at the paragraph here, we've got we've got ideas about cannabis, and then one sentence that talks about driving, and then the next sentence is needed to be that are relating to the solution, so they should be in a completely different paragraph. So when we look at the organization of information in a paragraph, we have to pay attention that all the ideas relate, for example, here to the problem, and the ideas that are related to the solution in the second paragraph. Okay. Here also leave a line between paragraphs, and I've marked where, and there should be another one here. I missed that, and it helps me see the beginnings of sentences. Okay. Now let's take a look at a sample which is quite good, and we're going to talk about why it's quite good. Let's look at it together. First of all, I can take a look. I see two clear paragraphs, and I see right from the beginning in the first sentence, I see the word problem, and I see in the beginning of the second paragraph the word solution. So already as a reader, I can see that this paragraph is going to talk about the problem, and this one is going to talk about the solution. So let's look together. Nowadays, Canada and Israel face the same problem of driving while being under the influence of alcohol or marijuana. There is an enormous amount of people that either smoke before driving or drink alcohol or both together. That's supporting the idea of driving under the influence. Those people do not care about the rules of the country, that it's practically forbidden to be under any type of substance while intending to drive. The reason why those people are continuing to do so is practically because they think they won't get caught by the police, and because they think they are better drivers than they really are. This eventually causes a lot of car accidents and loss of human lives. So we can see that there are a lot of things that support the idea that it's a problem. If we go back, they do not care about the rules, even though it's forbidden. They think they won't get caught by the police. They're better drivers than they really are. So this whole idea of the problem is supported. So let's look at the paragraph with the solution. The solution that I can suggest to this catastrophic problem is that first of all, we do have to teach the younger generations about the consequences of DUIA and DUIC, and it was footnoted here, gloss, very nice. We have to ingrain to the minds of the younger generation the idea that those types of substances while driving can lead to fatal repercussions. Secondly, so what do we have here? We have first of all, secondly. So I know that there are going to be 2 points. So one has to be about the consequences. And secondly, we have to make sure that each driver who can do driving under the influence of drugs will be punished as harsh as possible. Okay? In other words, under the law. So what's also very good is that we see the connection between the problem and the solution. In the problem, they talk about they don't care about the rules. Well, we need to make them understand the consequences. There's a problem of getting caught by the police. Well, if they're punished harsh as possible under the law, then it might have an impact. So let's sum up, is that here we've got 2 very, very good paragraphs. The first describing the problem and the second describing the solution. So if we very, very quickly sum up, we want to keep our sentences together. We want to pay attention and look at the different ideas so that we can see, here is just the problem. We're missing the solution. Here we've got more or less the problem, but we really don't have very much on a solution, and the solution doesn't really relate to the problem. And here we again have a mix of ideas. What ideas are relevant, what ideas are not relevant, what happens when we don't put capital letters in. It makes it difficult to read. And finally, we have one very, very good example. So if you want, you can always go back and look at this a few times, and I hope this has clarified a few issues regarding writing about problems and solutions.